I'm still not totally used to this. We're live. Good morning. Welcome. This is a special edition of the Zoom in between Wall and Main. I'm going to say it. I'm going to break the FCC regulations. We're talking shit with Seth, David, and friends.
Does the FCC even apply to the?
No, it doesn't. But I usually keep it clean on the air.
I try to too.
Are those Avalera sunglasses too?
These are Avalera sunglasses. So we've got the sunglasses, the hat, the shirt. I've got an umbrella, not that I'm here in Southern California very often, but when it does rain, people here go crazy because it never rains here. I got one of these, like a little screen cleaner kind of deal. They sent me all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to think. I feel like there's something I'm missing, but maybe not.
Oh, no, there is something you're missing, Seth.
Well, there's a lot I'm missing, but I was speaking specifically about the Avalera swag. What do you got there?
This is a little wristband. I got to figure out how to turn it on, but it lights.
Is it a fitness?
Got this at Sleater.
I don't have a light up one, but I do have, that's funny, I have this one.
I have it upside down. There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
And I have one Avalera, and I have a whole bunch of the T-Sheets ones. So, I think that's it.
We should have rocked this like 2 weeks ago.
When we had, well, they just sent this to me. Because I'm like, Brian, I don't have any Avalera stuff. I had a little online conference with Brian and some other people at Avalera, and I said, I can't show up to Avalera meetings in T-sheets, right? That's what I was wearing. And Brian said, Seth, give me your address. I'm sending you some orange. That's what he said.
As long as it wasn't Taxify, you'd be okay.
Taxify. You lost me on that one. What's Taxify?
Isn't that the sales tax?
Yes.
Oh, is that a competitor to Avalera?
Is competition to Avalera.
I did not think there was competition to Avalera.
Yeah, we had it on Gina's Hangout a while back.
And it'll be next week, too. Kitty Cat thought it was a great idea.
That is very funny. All right, so you guys talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I need to download the registration report to see what you all put in that random question box.
Well,
Is that something new?
Yikes.
No, it's, well, sort of. When I started doing the weekly pep talk, I had that in there from when I started using the webinar product for Zoom, and I somehow accidentally left the test question in there, and it wasn't required, but people were filling it in, like with just funny things. Mm-hmm. So I said, all right, this could be fun. And then yesterday I put up this and the one for March 18th because I scheduled Carbon, and so and people started commenting, hey, there's this weird required question. What do I put there? I said, you know what? I renamed it, and I actually just, gave it the label of Ask a Random Question. So now I'm curious to see what people may have put in there.
I wasn't funny, sorry.
No, you were serious?
I was.
All right, so for this one, we only got a couple. Hold on, I got my screen cut off here. What's my favorite movie? Mariette asked me that. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really hard one to answer because there's so many movies. I mean, from when I was a kid, like one of my favorite movies growing up, for sure, was The Lost Boys. I loved that movie.
That is a good one.
I loved that movie. I wanted to be Kiefer Sutherland in that movie. I wanted to be a vampire.
He is totally cool in that one, yes.
I definitely wanted to use my powers to get revenge on all the people who made me angry.
And who was the other actor that was in there? Young guy.
There's the guy who was also in Rush. What's his name? Patrick something, or Michael Patrick, or
he died early in life.
Hold on. Oh no, you're no, that's no, not Anthony Michael Hall. The other one of the Frog Brothers.
Yes.
Well, you know what we should do? We should IMDb it. You know IMDb, right?
No.
Yes.
IMDb.com, Internet Movie Database. That's where you get any and all information. And, of course, there's an app. I live in Los Angeles, so we live and eat and breathe this stuff. So Lost Boys.
You live in your phone.
Well, I live in the movie world. I live in Fantasyland, La La Land, as we call it. All right, so let's go to the original Lost Boys because it looks like there's been some remakes. Jason Patrick is who I was trying to think of. Corey Haim.
That's who I was thinking of. One of the, oh my gosh, I can't
Corey
even-
Haim, I think, died from complications arising from drug addiction. But there was also the guys who played the Frog Brothers. Where are you? Corey Feldman. That's who it was. It was the two Corys. It was Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. So I think Corey Feldman also died.
Well, Corey Haim was in Goonies. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Yeah, no, I remember. I never actually watched it, but I remember that movie was very popular among the kids.
I thought it was hysterical. It's like a group of, I'm going to say losers for the lack of better term, but
And because Cyndi Lauper had a song on that. Her song was the main song on the soundtrack for Goonies, wasn't it?
oh, I don't even remember that.
I think she had a song. I think it was called Goonies. It was by here. Let's IMDb it. You don't understand how often I sit around when I'm watching TV and I'm trying to think of a movie or something or who was in a movie. I just
You use that.
the IMDb app. It saved my
amazing.
life. It's a lifesaver. It's because without this kind of knowledge, where would we all be? I mean, let's face it. Who cares about accounting and bookkeeping?
Well, why do you want to talk about a good accounting movie? Other people's money.
You consider that an accounting movie? That's more of
Well,
like
I don't know, not necessarily, but it does have something. What I liked about it was when Danny DeVito gave the speech about the last whip maker. When they're talking about having a product, and you could be the best product on the market, but if your timing is wrong, you're not going to go anywhere.
right. All right, I'm bringing in some more viewers here to the panel. There she is. There's Sarah. There's where I was wondering. I was like, are these guys chat only? And then I'm like, oh, I forgot. Good morning, Suchi.
Again.
Suchi, is it cold where you are? We can't hear you.
Why can't you hear me?
Oops, somebody's calling me.
Your voice.
Somebody's calling me from Mequon, Wisconsin. No.
Michelle, looks like she has the high-tech Post-it note option happening too.
Yep. Michelle and Pat. Actually, it looks like they're using the same one.
Well, I think that's the standard yellow. That's how I could tell. I have white. Mine's different.
I think
Oh, Gina, what just happened?
Oh, sushi.
So Sarah asked before we got into the movie question about In De Niro. I'm not familiar with it. I haven't used it. Oh,
Pat has red now.
that's
Cat's
hysterical.
going to pink. Either
I
that or
want
it's
to
the
know how
finger.
many people use it for real. It's funny.
Use what?
Post-it notes to cover their camera.
I just turn
haven't-
off the camera.
I haven't used the Post-it note for a
Oh, it's
Post-it
purple
note.
now, Michelle.
There are lots of options here.
Are we wearing sunglasses? Should I go get mine?
Well, you missed this part. I have a whole bunch of Avalera swag.
Avalera.
Oh yeah, I could put on some sunglasses.
So, but you don't have an Avalera umbrella.
Oh my God, I don't. Okay, I'm gonna hunt for it. Trust me, I'll get it very soon.
You need to hound them for one of these. This thing is awesome. It's like a good heavy duty
Oh
one.
no, everybody knows you're coming, Seth, with that
As are their
lost boy
pens.
hair and your orange glasses.
And death and taxes. I've got the death and taxes
Oh wow, that's serious.
shirt. Yep.
Nice.
And I'm
Very nice.
impressed they had a XXX.
Very nice. Well, you're working on that, right? You're hiking in Griffith Park.
Yeah, in fact,
I'm very proud of you.
2 weeks ago, here, you want to hear some good news? So
Yes.
today, since I started tracking my my glucose and my weight, hold on, I go to Evernote. I have a shortcut called My Health Manager, so I can quickly access my little Excel spreadsheet. Somebody's phone is ringing. You want me to get that? So on February 15th, I started tracking my fasting glucose and I started weighing myself. So on February 15th, my fasting blood sugar was 173, which is really high. It's supposed to be under 120. It's supposed to be between like 80 and 120. And I weighed in at 272.8 pounds. So today, 12 days later, Fasting blood sugar 166, weigh in at 268.80.
Good.
So I'm dropping the blood sugar and dropping the weight.
Congrats.
Just a little bit at a time, but of course I'm taking the medication and dieting much better. Much better. I haven't had fast food in 12 days. I'm like going through withdrawal.
Since October, I've lost about 25 pounds.
Nice.
Congratulations.
I call it my low C diet, as in no chips, cookies, candies, cakes, colas, cheese.
Right.
I like that.
So I told my wife, I'm bringing sexy back. I've lost a whole 4 pounds.
Well, good. You're headed in the right direction. Sorry.
Oh, we are like ringing crazy today. We're so busy.
Wow.
So what are we talking about?
We're talking shit. Whatever you want to talk about.
Nice. Oh no, are we gonna curse like well, actually, you know what? Let me not go political.
Mexican. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna start talking, and I'm like, no, I don't go political. Forget it. Disregard that comment. I'm not gonna say anything.
Nice. So Sarah said her fasting sugar's down to 98. Nice. Congratulations. So your fasting sugar is like normal then. Sarah Laidlaw. Where is Sarah
I will
Laidlaw?
say, not me. So Seth, you haven't tested it out in De Niro or anything?
I haven't used it. I mean, I've heard about it a million times, but I've never played with it or used it, so I can't really speak to having any kind of experience with it. All right, Sarah Laidlaw, I'm promoting you to panelist so you can actually speak to us.
Yay!
Hello.
There she is. We see the thumbnail, and there's the live action camera view. I always like looking out Sarah's window. It always looks so nice out there.
Oh, no, it is an awesome view.
It is
That's
gorgeous.
awesome.
If I open up the shades behind me, you'll see my car. And I think you'll see my garbage cans too.
Y'all always see when my husband gets home.
Okay, now I don't feel left out. Put some swag on.
Nice.
So the other thing, Mariette, we were talking about was favorite movies. That's how Lost Boys came up, because in the test question, somebody asked me what my favorite movie was.
Oh yeah, that was me. I was a little bit like weirded out by the test question, so I had to think fast.
Yeah, and I've relabeled it now so that it actually
That's awesome.
asks you to just ask a random question. So now I've got a lot of people registered for the carbon demonstration, which is going to be next month. So I'd be interested to see what people put in it for that one.
And what's carbon? Forgive me.
I
But,
love carbon.
It was formerly Practice IQ,
oh, okay.
so it's Ian Vason's thing.
So like a workflow solution?
What's that?
Is that what-
Sounds like somebody.
So is someone
a
drilling?
robot or
Is someone-
something.
Is someone drilling?
Because she just muted.
Somebody, it sounded like a hydraulic kind of thing. Like I thought maybe somebody's hydraulic, or somebody just became a transformer. One of the-
Yeah, I thought it was like we were being robots.
We're having new shower glass installed. I didn't realize it was
that's
so
what it
loud.
Oh, so it's like drilling then. That's what that sounds like. So, by the way, look at how cute is this little coffee mug thing.
I'm sorry, that's blurry to me. My eyes must be bad.
It's weird to me too. This is from primarily bookkeeping.net. Somebody had sent this to me over the holidays. And it's a
Oh,
little
cute.
foam like pressure stress squeeze.
Oh, that is,
Isn't that cool?
that's very cool.
Primarily bookkeeping.net. You know what? I have to go to their website and find out who exactly that is, because they sent me that and I was like, oh, that's cool. So back to movies. So yeah, Lost Boys. This is going to be the ADHD installment. So zoom in between Wall and Main.
Has anybody seen The Big Short?
Who?
The Big Short?
No.
I read the book a while back. It's pretty interesting. It's about these dysfunctional people that saw the
Okay,
crash
I think
coming
we
and
will
got
sound
in early and shorted the market, made a killing.
So Dennis, these guys are in your area. They're in 601 108th Avenue Northeast, Suite 1900, Bellevue, Washington.
Oh yeah, that's on the east side, yeah, downtown Bellevue.
Primarily Bookkeeping Inc. I have no idea who this is. I'd love to know who like the person or people are behind it. Wait,
I've never heard of them.
Rachel. Okay, now I didn't know the name of her business.
Who was it?
Rachel Barnett.
Oh, okay, I know who that is.
Now I know.
That's Shelley's friend.
Yeah, I didn't know the name of her business. Of course, as soon as I see her face on the page, I'm like, oh, I know her.
Hey, Seth, what did you guys talk about last night?
We talked about you.
Oh, of course. Well, that's
The
always
whole
assumed.
session was
I
about
always
Maria
know it's
Martinez.
about me. Let's just cut that out because that's assumed. What else did you talk about?
We had a demonstration from Funbox. So we had Joanna from Funbox give us a little demo. So we were talking about cash flow. And then, so that was good. I always feel like I'm a bad advocate for those kind of products because I changed my model around a while ago to get paid first, and then I don't have to worry about taxes.
Now, is Funbox like a collection, like an online collection system?
No. What they'll do is they will. It's not so much that your receivables are pledged as collateral, but they'll analyze your receivables and use that as a determinant in lending you money. And so you link them up to your QuickBooks Desktop or your QuickBooks Online or Zero Company, and they'll analyze. They're able to get in there and analyze like your clients' histories to see who pays regularly. So if you need money to cover your working capital needs, and you need it like tomorrow, they'll go in and it's like a working capital loan. So you don't pay an interest rate per se.
Okay.
You pay a fee. So you borrow $3,500, you pay back $3,700. And once you borrow the money, they just take it out in 12 equal installments. So whatever the repay amount is, including the fee, divide that by 12. That's what they're going to take out every week. So if you need 10 grand on the fly, it's a great system. Of course, when you come up with the effective rate, you're looking at somewhere between 5.5% and 7% on that one, and then annualize that. So 5.5% to 7% over 12 weeks. So you multiply that by 4, you get your annualized rate. You're looking at, over 20 to 25% effective annual interest rate. So it's a very high rate, but you're paying for the convenience of getting the money like that without having to go through much of a process to get it, and you're repaying it in 12 weeks. So
is it a factoring company?
It's not factoring because your receivables are still yours. You're still going to collect your receivables. They just use the receivables to determine if and how much money to lend you. And then they're dinging your account every week. So there's no...
Oh, I see. So it's a loan based on your receivables.
Yeah. Essentially.
Working capital loan based on your receivables. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So, it's a great option. And then, Funbox is great. And, they were making the point, of course, we were talking about cash flow in general. And how shocking it is these days, how many of us still write checks? Hello? And so Funbox is, the company's actually based in Israel. So she was using themselves as an example. If you want to get paid by them by check, somebody has to fill out a requisition here in the States, send it back to Israel. Then in Israel it gets processed. Then they send a check back to the States to be sent on to you. So you can be looking at a 60-day turnaround at least before getting paid when you're paid by check, whereas electronically you can get paid right away. So it always shocks me when people still write checks these days. I mean, just recently I had somebody send me a check as payment, but with that, they sent a little ACH form saying, fill this out and we'll wire the money to you from now on. And I'm like, done. I don't,
Hey, Seth, I have a question for you. It's kind of an observation. It seems to me with things like Bill.com, it's sort of increasing the velocity of the cash flow cycle in the sense that people are expecting to get paid a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be hard for people that are used to the traditional cash flow management where they basically try to get money up front and take the time paying their vendors. And it just strikes me as it's just going to kind of ripple through the whole system where people are going to be under more pressure to get paid faster and collect faster because of the software. I mean, I'd like your observation.
So I learned I want to say a long time ago, I guess that's relative, but I learned at some point back in time that never to write a check against funds that aren't in the bank to cover it. Because I used to play the float game like many of us do. And then I burned myself on the float game and ended up bouncing checks, and so I learned, I said, you know what, from now on, I don't care how late it is. I don't care what the interest and penalties are. If the money's not in the bank to cover it, I don't write the check or I don't schedule the payment, right? Period. Then the next thing I learned, because like many of us, when I was young and stupid, I'm still young and stupid, but I was younger and stupider. When I bought my home, as many of us do when we buy our homes, I racked up a lot of debt, not just the home loans, but I mean, then buying stuff for the house and fixing things up or whatever, I racked up within a couple of years like $30,000 in credit card debt. No kidding. And I mean, to me, that was out of control. I don't know. Other people may think that's fine. But what I did was I started a process of eliminating all of that. However, because how do you, somebody once asked, and it's very funny, like sometimes the most, the deepest wisdom is the most obvious and simple. So somebody had asked me, well, how do you get debt paid off? And I said, it's actually very simple. Number one, stop using it. Number two, make steady monthly payments, right? And so I figured out, all right, if I pay the minimum payments, you know how they calculate that minimum payment, right? It's like the interest plus 1% of the principal. In other words, if you pay the minimum, you will never pay that credit card off, ever. And that's what the banks want, because they're going to make a lot of money on those payments over the course of your life. And then you're going to die owing them money, and they're not going to care because they'll already have made more than enough on you. So, and then somebody responsible for your estate will probably still have to pick up that tab. So point being, I looked at it and I said, and there's a lot of different, I'll get that. Now I'm hungry. So the point is, a lot of people have different philosophies about how to get paid off, right? Some people say, like, I think is it Dave Ramsey or Dave Allen? I always get them confused.
Ramsey.
Ramsey is the one, I think, who says pay off the lowest interest one first because you'll get it paid off faster and it'll feel good, which I get that. But of course, as accountants, we want to say, no, pay off the highest one first because you're wasting money and throwing it away and might as well stick it in the fireplace. Right? So as accountants, we say pay off the highest interest-bearing debt first. And I agree with that. So, and then here's what I did. I said, all right, let me look at my budget, and here's the fixed amount that I have that's available to pay off debt. And then I just broke it down, and I put the highest portion of it towards the highest interest one, and I scaled it down accordingly because I had a few credit cards. And then little by little, I just got them all paid off. In fact, as of last November, one of them had gotten down to like $7,000. It was the last credit card, and I had been treating them just like installment loans. And I finally said, you know what? I'm so tired of paying this payment every month that I just went into my savings. I pulled out $7,300 and I paid it off. And I said, F you, I'm done. And then it's funny. Last week I got, or a couple weeks ago, I got a letter from Bank of America because that's who the credit card was issued by. And I guess after I paid off that balance, somehow I had accrued like $90 of interest, and so I'm just like, fuck you, I just paid you $7,300. So I walked in there with the letter in hand, and I was kind of nasty with them because I was just annoyed. And I said, what do I have to do to pay this off and make sure it goes away forever? And it got to the point where they sat me down with like one of their bankers, and she just checked to make sure no further interest, because I was very strong. I was like, I don't want to get another notice. Like, call people, do whatever you have to. I want a payoff number. I don't want to have to come back here next month. And ultimately, this one lady was very, very helpful at the Burbank B of A branch. But it was just, it felt so, as I'm walking out, she's like, congratulations, But so, Dennis, going back to your question, and the reason I brought up the whole debt thing was, the other thing I did while I established how much I was going to apply towards the debt is that a certain amount of that money was going to also go into a savings account. In other words, that's a Dave Ramsey thing, I think, very much, is pay yourself. A lot of people say that, pay yourself first. So in other words, out of whatever you have available to pay off debt, I said, I'm also going to stick a certain amount and accumulate it in a savings, because then the next time I run into one of those situations where I would have used the credit card because I would have said, it's an emergency, it's an auto repair or something that I have to do, I can do it out of my own funds rather than sticking it yet again on a credit card. And
Feels good, doesn't it?
It feels great. And so then I started doing things like the auto sweep. So every month, at a minimum, a certain amount gets swept from my checking to my savings. And I don't touch it. And I've got myself trained really to just look at the operating account, and the savings I don't even look at. I don't even consider. It's not. I act like it's not even my money. It doesn't exist. It's not available to be used to pay for anything. It's only available to be saved and accumulated. Because this way, Dennis, going back to the point you brought up about playing the float, I never have to worry about that again. And then I'm in a place where I call, where it's self-financed, right? Because I'm not worrying about using credit cards anymore. I'm financing everything on my own. And bottom line, if I can't pay for it with a debit card, I can't afford it, and it's going to have to wait, whatever it is, And things come up, so you do what you got to do. Last year I had to spend $10,000 on plumbing for the house. These things happen, but I had the reserves, thank God, finally, because I'd been putting money away a little bit at a time, and I don't care, even if it's just $100 a month, or whatever somebody can afford, even if it's $20 a month. But you know what the reality is? If you're going out to Starbucks every morning to get your coffee, stop going to Starbucks and put $20 a month away instead, because that's what you're spending, right? And that's assuming you're just getting regular coffee, because that's like $2. If you're getting a foo-foo drink, we're talking $5 a day, right? Which is $25 a week, which is $100 a month. So put the $100 a month in savings, and then when you accumulate, a little bit, go buy yourself a coffee maker and make your coffee at home, And so that's the other thing I do is every once in a while I reward myself and say, all right, since I didn't spend money wastefully, I'm going to go and buy myself a toy or an umbrella. But umbrellas are free now, apparently.
And I want to know what a foo-foo drink is. Is that an official term?
It is an official term.
The
There's a
foo-foo
section
drink
of
that has
Starbucks
about
called
50
foo-foo drinks.
Sugar in it.
Yeah. So like your caramel macchiatos, which by the way
my
is not a
God.
real macchiato. A real macchiato is in a cup about half the size of this.
And it's half sugar.
And you get it in Italy, and it's strong and bitter. And you normally don't, well, actually I think they do put a lot of sugar in those. But
They do here, the American version.
yeah. No, but even in, like if you go to Turkey, have you ever had Turkish coffee? Now that's some serious coffee.
Burn the hair off the back.
But they put a sugar cube in it usually. They put an actual cube in there. I wonder how much that would spike my blood sugar. All right, so we have Q&A. Oh, these are old Q&As. I can't get in. You keep on knocking, but you can't get in.
Thank you for letting me in.
Barbara and Larry were late to the party. I'm letting them in. I'm letting you guys in now. I need to just keep this up.
Barbara! She's
Barbara!
like, unmute. Say hello.
So going back, Dennis, to your last question or comment or observation or request for an observation, I like that. A request for an observation. I'm going to make that official. If every week we're going to have that. We're going to have a request for an observation. An RFO?
You're going to give everything an acronym.
I have to. My life is filled with acronyms.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, because you may have seen from pictures, she's very small. So she's my PSW, my pocket-sized wife.
Oh, that's very sweet, Seth.
Isn't that
I
very
like
sweet?
that. Oh, that's better than what my husband calls me, so that's very...
She's my pocket-sized wife, and I used to say, I suppose I haven't said this to her in a while, but I used to like joke with her, like, come on, we're going to go somewhere. And if she was like tired and didn't want to go, I'd be like, come on, I'll put you in my pocket.
Okay. I'm glad you didn't say you're going to put her in your pants. Better than pants.
That would,
Put it in the pocket.
that would have other implications. Mariah. Not
Hey,
appropriate
she's your
content.
wife. It's A. Not appropriate. I thought this was an inappropriate conversation, and it's
I
okay.
suppose it could be.
She better be in your pants, first of all. She's your wife.
Seth, how tall is she?
Oh, no. Let's not go there. I'm coming off. I'm signing off. Bye.
Oh, yeah, because
Too much caffeine.
all right.
I was inspired by Seth.
I'll take the fifth on the height question. Sarah, PM me and I'll tell you.
Okay, because I'm pretty small and my husband's pretty tall.
I'm 5'12".
You are?
She is. She is 5'6", 5'12".
We're totally opposite, Sarah.
Funny. But yeah, so Dennis, I think you're right. People are not going to be able to take advantage of the float like they used to. Bill.com, interestingly enough, still takes a while to fund, but I was on with their support. That reminds me, I promised them a video. Because we discovered an interesting quirk when it comes to syncing Bill.com with QBO. In terms of if you have quantities, like if you're billing for hours, let's say, and let's say you want to put a partial quantity, like 1.25 hours, 1.25 hours, it gives you an error. It won't sync to QBO from Bill.com if you enter it that way. You have to do whole numbers, and they're going to fix that now, thanks to me. But meanwhile, it's a quirk that I'm going to do a video kind of pointing out. Interestingly enough, if you put the partial quantities in QBO, it'll sync fine back to Bill.com. But if you then go and try and edit that bill in Bill.com, it triggers the error again. So the information can be passed through, but for some reason, very specifically going from Bill.com to QBO, it won't pass through a partial quantity. It's like some quirk or bug or something.
I guess where I was coming from is it seems like when you're using Bill.com, you're creating the expectation for you that you're going to get paid quicker, and also you've got the tools to start dunning people automatically that, you don't have to have somebody manually following up. Can't you just set the software to send out say we haven't received payment yet?
If they let you, yeah. So you can, people can give you permission to just ding their account. But what I was going to say with Bill.com, the turnaround time is slow still. Like if I go to schedule a payment today, the earliest it'll get there is like a week from now. And,
really?
And so I was bugging their support person saying, why does it take so long? And the answer is because of the security that they have. They put a lot of extra measures in place. Like they use, what Check 21 is, right?
Yes.
So every day they upload a list to the bank of all the checks that they've written, and the bank has to check every time a check is presented for payment against their account, they have to check it against those lists to make sure it's an authorized check. So it's almost impossible for somebody to fraudulently write a check against a Bill.com account. But because of all this extra security, that's why it takes extra time to turn around payments. Now, you may have noticed you can pay extra. They give you the option to pay them extra to expedite it faster. But even then, from what I've seen, it doesn't get there that much faster. So, the only time I do that is if I don't do it, I'm going to get hit with a late fee or something because I just forgot to, pay it or whatever. So I wish they would let you, because you can do like recurring bills in Bill.com. I wish you can just tell it to automatically pay them, but you still have to go in and schedule the payments. It would be nice if you could just say, just pay it. I don't care. Pay it. Just pay it.
Seth, have you ever tried using that cash flow dashboard with Bill.com?
No, because I have no problem paying bills with it, but very few people actually pay me through Bill.com. I mean, some do. But in order for that to...
it does both. It does the accounts receivable and accounts payable.
My point is the only reason the accounts receivable ever works is people are all paying you through their AR module. I mean, it can analyze your outstanding receivables and try and help you plot the cash flow, but you and I both know that's never going to be close to reality. So
yeah, I was hoping so much more for it. There's a lot left to be desired. I've watched it, I've played with it, I've tried it, but I can't make it work either.
Well, if you can get all of your customers to pay you through Bill.com, then it would work great. And the ideal situation is just put everybody on ACH, right? Just get all your customers. And of course, you know how you do that. Actually, Joanna from Funbox talked about this a little bit last night at our meeting that Marietta asked about. And she says you do A and B testing, so you can provide people with an incentive for paying you the way that you want them to, and try it both ways, or hit them with a penalty for not paying you the way they want you to, and see how your customers respond. Everybody's got a different tolerance for these sorts of things, and then there are going to be those who just don't care. But you might find that by providing people with an incentive, if you say, hey, look, I'll knock 2% off your bill if you agree to pay me via ACH through Bill.com, because then if you're routing all your receivables and all your payables through Bill.com, then that cash flow tool becomes really useful and really powerful. But in most cases, from what I've seen, it's mostly, it's very AP heavy and very AR light, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And the AP fails when you don't make a payment when you're supposed to. Say a payment is due on the 10th and you miss that deadline, it just goes off to never land.
Well, and of course, the nice thing is you can analyze that and say, all right, I have so much in payables, but I don't have the money to cover it according to the little cash flow graph that they give you. And so you can push the cash balance up as of a certain date, and based on that, it will give you revised suggested pay dates on your payables. So that's where it becomes really powerful, because you can say, well, if I don't have the money to pay all these bills by this date, let me get the suggested dates and then go back and schedule the payments on the bills accordingly, or update the due dates or whatever.
That's the hard part, going back and updating. It's nice when you've scheduled payments, like if you get your payments, like your telephone bill comes in this week, but you don't want to pay it until it's due, you just schedule in the future, and then you watch your dashboard to make sure you have the cash there. That's great and works well so long as you pay everything when you say you're going to.
Right. And of course, going back to what Dennis brought up, so what I've learned, and I realize not everybody can do this. I couldn't do this for the longest time. I've been very fortunate over the years that I've been able to get myself into a place financially where I can pretty much schedule the payments as the bills come in and say, okay, just pay these. You know, my problem, if anything, is I get busy and I don't pay my bills for 2 weeks, and then I'm like, and I got to go in and like usually Sundays is when I update my own stuff. But I'm like my own worst bookkeeper because I'm bored with it. I don't want to deal with it. I'd rather be making videos.
Sounds like me.
And I'd rather be doing somebody else's accounting. I find that much more interesting now. But, you know, again, I think the key, and Sarah Laidlaw kind of confirmed it earlier, is, you know, if number one, get out of debt. Just get your debt paid off. You're throwing money away. But again, the way to do that is, you know, steady monthly payments, stop charging things. And the other thing is pay yourself something. I think it's so important because that's how I did it. I little by little I accumulated, and again, it, you know, at a certain point it was like 150 a month was getting swept. Then it was 300 a month, you know, and then I'm like, okay, and I kind of left the auto sweep at 300 a month, so that's the bare minimum. But then each month I go in and I put more. I'll stick another 1,000 in there, just depending on what my own cash flow looks like that month. And, you know, because some months I'll have to spend 10 grand on plumbing or something. So, you know, then I don't have the extra money, but I still even then do at least the 300. So something goes into savings every month. I also,
you know what we did is whenever we get used to paying for something, like my car payment, and then at one point I had a really good month. I paid off the car. But I took that car payment and I set it up to automatically go to my money market because I'm so used to that coming out.
Yep.
And for the first time in my life, I'm keeping a car longer than I've ever kept a car. So that feels good. And then we finally got a kid out of college and we're so used to that monthly chunk.
Right.
we had learned to live with a certain level of income. So the first thing is like a raise, you know,
Yeah.
but we took that same monthly amount and, you know, started squirreling it. So it gets dangerous when this little extra stuff starts, you know, we start looking better, you know, but just, you know, we do the same thing, the same tricks, and I have everything on QuickBooks. With the sub, you know, I set aside, and if I go into QuickBooks and look at my checkbook, I have my operating. You know.
Right. See, I just do that with actual.
I know that when I go to the bank rec, I reconcile the header, and then and a lot of money we don't even move to the savings account because what's the point? As far as
See, I do, rather than doing the sub accounts, I just do it with different actual bank accounts.
actual bank accounts, yeah, we're doing sort of a quasi, like with my business, I knew I had a lot of equipment to get this year. So I started actually doing automatic journal entries. I just set it up, forgot about it, where it was moving money from one register, from my operating into my set aside.
Right.
You know, for even as intelligent as we all are, and we all work in this industry, and you think we'd be, you know, there's something about out of sight, out of mind.
No, without a doubt, because I go in and all my accounts are linked in the same online profile, but my brain and my eyes are trained to look at that first balance, which is the business checking, right? Yep. And so initially everything gets swept from the business checking into a business savings that I have, and then about once a month I sweep from the business savings to the personal savings. So sometimes I look at the business checking, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And then I glance down further. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot I have.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay.
The same applies for your credit cards as you're paying them off, too. You pay off a credit card, you're used to making a monthly payment of that amount, put it in your
stack
savings.
it into the others. That's what I did. That's exactly what I did. So I had like 3 credit cards. One, the lowest balance. You know what I did? I actually prioritized it, not even as much by interest rate, but by which had the highest balance. I wanted the highest balance credit card paid off first. That was what helped me psychologically just deal. So I think I put $1,000 a month toward the highest balance. Then the second highest was $500, and the third highest was $200. So think about that, $1,700 a month just paying off credit cards because of what I had racked up. That was the price I paid. But you're right, Gina. So when I eventually paid off the $200 a month one, I rolled that up into the $500. So now $700 a month was going towards card number 2. When that got paid off, I think I compromised and did like $1,500 towards the highest one, and I kept the difference in savings at that point because $1,500 a month was enough. And then, like I said, at one point I was just, I'm sick and tired of making this payment, and I just paid it off. But
But I want to say on the other side, credit cards do have their place. I mean, I use a credit card specifically for gas for the points, but I also pay that credit card off every month.
Yeah, see, I just don't.
You know, it's new. I've always done that. Yeah, I mean, I would just put everything I could on a credit card, but I paid it off. But when they would work up your FICO score, they would look at these huge balances and think that I'm a risk without taking into account that balance was paid off and then it was all new debt and paid off. Okay, and they've changed that algorithm within the last couple of years because people like me who use the debt for convenience, that card is convenient, we were getting penalized. And so, I mean, have y'all noticed, ones of y'all that pay 100% off, do you notice that your FICO scores have gone up?
I don't know. I look at my credit score every month. I use Credit Karma, actually. I like them because they email me every month and remind me to check. But, you know, at a certain point, I made a decision not to give a shit about the points. I just said, you know, I don't care about the points. I don't want points. I just don't want credit cards in my life, period. And so I locked them up in a vault. So if I have an extreme emergency where I really need to, I have a credit card to use. But like Mariette posted in the chat, I guess she's listening with her camera off, but she says, you know, only use credit cards like you said.
I'm here.
There you are. So only use them. Sorry. No, it's okay. So now that you're back with us, you can say what you said in the chat.
Oh, no, I was listening to all you guys, and actually this is a really good conversation because I think this is where a lot of people struggle is their strategy. And I think it takes time, like Seth says, is what your strategy is. I mean, when you're young, I think we all have the same strategy. Just, you know, we make money, we spend money, but then as we get older and, you know, buy homes and have kids and wiser, exactly. It completely depends on your discipline. So, you know, if you truly can get a credit card, use it for points and pay it off, then do it. But if you struggle at all with it, then don't do it and do what Seth does and literally put it in a vault, lock it up, cut it with scissors. I mean, whatever you need to do to discipline yourself because you're basically playing with fire and that just gets you in a lot of trouble. So, you know, I mean, I think talking about it is really good, but at the end of the day, it's what you can personally say is right for you. Right. And so, and I'm both. I'm like Seth, like, depending on the card, if it's one that has a lot of fun stuff and I'll probably blow it up, I'll cut it off. If it's got like a $500 limit, then maybe I'll use it because I refuse to have a credit card with a $500 balance. That's ridiculous. So I'll pay it off like a bill, you know? So it's kind of like, that's how I do it. I keep my credit cards at really low credit balances because if I see a credit card that has like a $1,000 balance, that's like silly. Like, why do I have a credit card with $1,000 balance? If I see a credit card with a $10,000 balance, it's going to take me longer to pay it off. And so then I know that I don't have discipline for that. So that's my strategy. So we're all kind of different.
I don't trust myself because I'll charge it on the card and say, yeah, I'm going to pay it off next month. Then I'll get the bill and I'm like, well, if I just pay the minimum, I don't have to exhaust those extra funds. And so it's like almost like I get lazy about it. So I don't trust myself. So I just gone. But Barbara,
I want to say something else I do with credit cards. I'll have a low balance credit card for those expenses that only allow you to, that need to be reoccurring every month, like your gym fees. You need a card or a debit card. I really don't want them to have access to my debit card, period.
Right.
I don't care about it. I give them my debit card because, you know, all you have to do if you have a problem with the debit card is call your bank and say, I lost my card.
I may not have that time for that call. I ain't playing. They only get the access that I give them.
But you don't have to have time for the call unless there's a problem. It's the same thing as with a credit card. I mean, I don't.
You don't have to call, I think, if there's a problem.
Actually, Gina, I do exactly what you.
The security is better on the credit cards.
Yeah, I agree with Gina. I do the same thing. Like, I don't randomly like to give out my number, so I'll give it to that credit card that has like I think it's like a $2,500 balance. Like, that's the only card I'll give out, like online. That's how I purchase things online. But after I purchase it, I literally will go and make a payment to my card. So it's like the same. It's almost like a PayPal account, I guess.
You have more legal protection with a credit card than you do a debit card.
Yeah.
But it comes down to that personal, can you handle it, like you said, Mariette.
Yeah. But it's fascinating the way different people handle behavior modification, you know?
And it's not only us. Remember, a lot of us could have significant others. So we can maybe handle it, but they can't handle it. So it's like, you know how that is.
Yeah.
So we got to think about those people too and just make sure we're all, you know, in a happy place.
You know, when I think back of when I closed my offices and built this and everything, I didn't have all the cash available, but I knew, like when I built this wing, that was back when you would get 5, 6 credit card and line of credit things a day. Oh, with everybody, you know, and it was like no closing costs and all that stuff. And I remember racking up, scared the flip out of my husband, but I ran up multiple cards to the max, got this thing built, got it reappraised, did the no closing costs, refinanced, and my office cost me $11 a month. But in the 2 or 3 months that it took to get this built and operational, it was the scariest.
Yeah, that's when you don't let your spouse open bills. You don't let them do anything because they're freaking.
No, you know, see, I'm a risk taker in a lot of areas where my husband is not. He's like no risk, and so I will risk for with a goal in mind, with a strategic plan in mind, and freak him out and just pay him in.
Oh no!
Well, I think that's key.
That's a
is
good
having
example. That's a very good example.
Mm-hmm. He would have never done this. He would have never built this. So, but and now he's glad, you know, in the long run. But we buffer each other. He, you know, I can be real impulsive, and so we're good for one another. But the hardest thing for me when we got married is I was so used to just making all my own decisions. Now
And you can't do that all the time, can you?
Well, I still make my own decisions, but I have to bring them in the loop. Doesn't mean
you have to play the my big fat Greek wedding card. The the neck thing. You know how that works.
Uh-huh.
You're like, oh, honey, that was such a great idea, and you're like, I wonder where he got that from.
So Barbara, you said you travel a lot, and you use the cards to get the points for the travel, I imagine. You want to talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. I used to be totally anti-debt. And then what really did it for me is the airline started charging the check luggage. I know it sounds, like a ridiculous reason, but that adds up. I mean, I travel a great deal for fun and for business. So I got the American Express. And I'm like, what have I been missing out on? The points. Mm-hmm. I'm now so spoiled because I use them to upgrade to first class quite a bit. I travel at least twice a year.
I like companion tickets. Whatever my husband's doing, I always get to travel for free.
Oh, see, that's awesome. I get one companion ticket with my card a year. So I get the free luggage. I get the no foreign transaction fees. And I know a lot of banks offer that. A lot of cards offer that. And I get the protection. Amex is awesome, absolutely awesome with customer dispute and insurance on car rental. So there's a lot of benefits. But I do agree.
Being written by
Mariette.
I do agree. If you know yourself and you know you don't have the discipline for credit cards, don't, because it's a lot easier. I think for me, I do know I spend more on plastic than I do with cash. I'm a lot less emotionally connected when I'm handing someone a card than I am when I'm actually spending the cash out of my wallet. So I do agree. If you can't trust yourself, don't do it. But I love the points. They're far worth it for me.
And my husband apparently has a new card that is like crazy good with stuff. So he's trying to get everything moved over to this new. The thing that he likes about this card, and I wish I could remember what it is he has that watch thing that's, and he can be at the counter, hand him the credit card, and his watch will go, bzz, and it shows him the charge.
Oh, see, that's awesome.
Before they've even handed him the receipt.
Yeah.
And what we like about that is if there's any fraud or at the second that charge is used, it is right there. I'm liking that.
Is that an Apple Watch or a Droid watch, or is it?
No, he has
Well, any of those, like I have that, I get that. I have the Pebble. So you just have email notifications set up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and so your watch will register. Oh, I just got the email. I get that. Like I go to, like when I go to Best Buy, it's one of my favorite places to go.
I'm not allowed in Best Buy.
Best Buy is like my Toys R Us from when I was a kid, right? So I'm walking to the car and I get the email with the receipt for what I just bought from Best Buy. That I love the email notification. It's as much as I hate email, I love those emails because I don't need to save them or worry about them, but it's like that quick, okay, good, I'm good. I know what's going on. And I love getting those emails because it's just that extra security that I know the second something happens. In fact, it's funny. The other day, I rarely have anything delivered to my home address. I just don't give my home address out. Everything goes to the UPS store nearby because they can sign for me and whatever. So because there's crazy people in the world. And I've seen it firsthand. I had a guy that I worked with years ago who he was very proud of his home address because it was on Venice Beach on the water. So he wanted everyone to know where he lived. $1.5 million home. And anyway, so one of the investors on one of his real estate deals got pissed off because they thought he was jerking them around. He actually wasn't, but they thought he was. And next thing you know, they're at his doorstep demanding their money be returned to them. And the cops had to be called. So I was like, I'm never putting my home address on anything. Anyway, all that was to say that I did allow one thing to be delivered this week to my home. So I'm sitting here at my desk, and from where I sit, I have a view of the bay window on my house that looks out right to the front. And a FedEx guy walks up, clearly to put a package down. And it was weird. As he was walking away, the email came in. Your FedEx package has been delivered. Mm-hmm. It almost kind of freaked me out. Like, to me, that was almost a little creepy. But obviously, he has this little machine there that he, just probably punches a button and says, okay, this package has been delivered, and that instantly triggers the email to go. I love that, this kind of email notification world we live in.
Well, we bought one of those Ring doorbells.
Oh, my doorbell is disconnected. My doorbell does not work.
Well, it chimes. Well, when we first put it in, we made it too sensitive, and I can see a truck or a client way in the middle of the property before they even get here. And then, so now it was too sensitive because the thing was, some raccoon walks by him. And, but now I don't even have to be here. I can be anywhere and it'll chime and I can hit it. And the UPS and the FedEx people are getting used to it because I'll go, hi, and they'll go, hi, see ya.
That's funny.
Or they're putting it at the wrong door because one's covered and one isn't, and the office door isn't covered, and I'll say, no, we'll leave it there, put it, So, but
that's funny.
You're right. That and the instant, it's a safety thing.
Yeah. See, my doorbell doesn't even work. At one point it broke, and I said, you know what? I like it better that I don't want to be disturbed by the doorbell. Yeah. I just don't. If somebody's coming, I'll know, and I'll be waiting for them. If somebody's like coming over, but.
Well, look at Mariette. She just said a client walked in that she wasn't expecting. I have one or two that'll do that. That just.
I never have clients come in.
I'm like.
If a client tried to walk in with me, they'd be at the UPS store. That's the only address they have.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I joined the Burbank Chamber of Commerce years ago. And so, of course, a lot of people, we go there for networking and things. And so this guy from American Express, actually, speaking of credit cards, was there, and he was trying to solicit a lot of the members to sign up for all the American Express programs that they have or whatever. And he came looking for me. He obviously got my address off the Chamber of Commerce website, which was the UPS store address. And he went in there, and the nerve of this guy, he goes in there, and he starts asking the people behind the counter, and they all know who I am. I mean, Burbank's a small city. Everybody kind of knows everybody. And so they know who I am. I was also one of their first customers when they just opened up. I have box number 102, so there was one person before me, literally, or two, because there's 100 and 101. Anyway, so they came in, they're asking for me, and they're like, look, we can't even confirm if he even has a box here. It's confidential. And he's like, oh, and he was pushing them to try and get my home address. And it's like,
some of the salespeople.
Yep.
This week is all the political calls, one after another. It's actually quite quiet right now, but it get up around 4 or 5 o'clock, one after another.
I stopped getting those. I used to get them all the time, and those annoy me more than anything. Mm-hmm. You try and call the number back, it clearly gets rerouted somehow. So you can't call back and say, hey, take me off your list. So what I started doing is, because every call I get is recorded and I can get the MP3, because they leave a voicemail, so I get the little MP3 file. So I started like tweeting those out and putting them on Twitter and sort of bashing them and saying, this is not going to inspire my confidence in a candidate.
And that's worked.
And I don't know if maybe that's why, but I stopped
like, don't call him.
Yep.
Yeah, try to take a nap.
Yeah, too bad there isn't a better solution for your IP phones. We got an IP phone, and I don't know, some jerk got a hold of the number, and he calls about 3 times a day. I say he, I don't really know, but it's like a fake breast cancer firm, right? And, you know, I looked them up on the internet and everything. The trouble is, you don't really know. There's some way that they can change how the number comes in.
Right.
You really don't know. I mean, this guy could be in California for all I know.
Right.
Says he's in Glen Cove, but it's very annoying. It's like 3 times a
Is it a
day.
real call, or is it one of those electronic robot calls?
I don't even know that. I mean, my name isn't even on it. And about the 3rd time, my wife answered and said, you know, would you please stop? And he said he's calling for me, so he knew my name. I don't know how he knew that. It's really weird.
Well, that's a case when you do something like, say, hold on a minute, put the phone down, and that, like the dog with the phone or something.
Yeah, just leave them on hold for like an hour. That's my favorite thing to do with those people. Hey, could you hold on 1 second? I'm really interested, but could you just hold on 1 second? And then just put them on hold and leave them.
Or you start talking about the problems that you have.
Right.
Not at
So
all.
glad you called. I just got back from the doctor, and then you just start talking about the most vile
I know.
decisions.
I've read all of those. Get the dog whistle and all that stuff. But the problem is, some of these guys are really like nutcases. Then they'll step up their efforts, and then the phone almost never stops ringing. That type of thing, you know.
Yeah, that happened with that, because I was really screwing with those. You know, I'm from the computer company. You have a virus, you know. Yeah. And I really started screwing with him. And then I got one guy, I guess I pissed him off, so he kept. And I'm like, whoa.
Oh, there's a video on YouTube.
Fun for a while, but.
There was a great video on YouTube with where this woman recorded herself receiving one of those calls. And so the guy's like, oh, can you give me your password so I can log in? And she says, oh, sure. She says, hold on, let me get it. Right. And she pretends like she's going to look up her password. And so she starts giving it to him. She says, okay, the first letter is F. The second letter is U. You can see where this is going. It spells it all out. And then hangs up on the guy. So it's funny. But okay, so now that we're on this topic, though, I have to bring this up because we're out of time. But we'll spend like 120 seconds on this. The Apple iPhone thing, the terrorists who shot up everybody. What do you guys think? I've read both sides of the argument, and I have to say both sides are compelling. Apple does not want to open up the security on their phone to find out who they were calling. I'm totally against their decision on this. I think there has to be a way to go into that one phone and get the information. Apple's claiming in order to do it, they'd have to develop technology that doesn't exist yet that would then be susceptible for others to get a hold of it and use it to tap into other people's, and they're saying it would destroy all the security. And obviously you understand the argument for them doing it. What do you guys think?
Verizon used to do it before when there was a regular phone call. The police could have access to any phone calls at any time. I don't see this as being different.
I see, as long as you get like a court order or something.
Right, exactly.
Legal
Same.
Protections. That
Same as it was with
exception,
landlines.
as a general policy, I would say no, but having some sort of legal protections, I think that common good overrides private, concerns.
So to be clear,
Let's face it. How many?
Asked to do was, if you put in your password 10 times, it should wipe the device, which is a computer full of data. So what they're asking Apple to do is turn off that, complete wipe feature, so that they can try to bust into the phone, right? So that's what they're asking.
That's
Apple
what I
to-
understand.
Is
Yeah.
to stop the wipe feature.
But there has to be a way to get
So-
around that. Apple has to have a way to get around that just to get at the information that the FBI needs. I find it very hard to believe that there's no way for Apple to hack around that. But if it's true that they really can't, then I do understand that developing the technology that would remove that would open up somebody to be able to hack into every iPhone out there.
Yeah.
So that's why I say both sides of the argument are compelling. The question is, do we believe that Apple really has no other way of doing it? That's what I find hard.
Turn off that feature. They could turn off that feature. Don't you think?
They're saying they can't. They're saying that part of what makes it secure is the fact that they have not developed a way to turn off that feature. But I have to believe that there's a way to go into that one phone, even if it means taking it apart and going into its inside. Somewhere there's a chip in there that has the records the FBI needs on that one phone. I just find it very difficult to believe that there's no other way.
Yeah, I agree.
Suchi, you look very
so then
close.
the argument is how to, is a court order enough? Because we all know court orders are, I don't know. I want to be safe.
Why?
I want to be safe. So we're all giving up a lot of privacy and a lot of rights because we're afraid of terrorists.
Right. Speaking of terrorists, no, I'm just kidding. Suchi, who is that?
I'm homesick again.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, hello.
beautiful. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Yes, she's
She's a nice giggler.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to stop here. Gina, what's going on today?
It's the same thing as you. What you see is what you get. It's
All right.
a free-for-all.
Free for all.
A free for all. I love it. All right, so we'll see you all this afternoon, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern on
Happy hour.
Happy hours.
Gina's Happy Hour Hangout. I like that. So how do we get in?
Be friends with me on my Facebook group,
All right,
and you'll get the Zoom link. Otherwise, it will be recorded, and you can watch it later.
and it's SBAA, Small Business Accounting Advisors, right?
Correct.
All right, SBAA on Facebook. Go search it out if you're not already in there and join it and be a part of it. Be part of the Cool Kids Club.
Nice meeting you, Barbara.
Bye-bye. Nice meeting you guys too.
See you soon.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.